Hi, I'm Xanthe. If you'd excuse, I do get quite anxious and I find it quite hard to find my words when I'm speaking, but I do find it a lot easier to write out what's on my mind. But I wanted to kind of confront that fear and make a video anyway. I wanted to speak a little bit about like having the diagnoses that I have received from psychologists and psychiatrists, comparing it with autism, because it can look quite similar to, like, I was told some years ago that I was on the autistic spectrum, and I thought, oh, that's why I'm different, and it seemed to make sense to me because I had sensory issues, had some difficulty with my communication, avoided eye contact, etc, etc. But then I have had, after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I rejected at first because I thought, no, that's not me, but I didn't understand it properly. I had an assessment done and they told me that I do have traits in common with autism, but because I do, despite my difficulties, I do understand social situations more, even though I've had a lot of clashes with problems, just misunderstandings, made a lot of mistakes, socially. They have attributed my similarities to other conditions. So I just wanted to briefly touch on that. I'm actually fidgeting right now, which in the autism world they would call stimming. I actually do it a lot in different versions, so I might do this, or if I'm in public I might just rub my finger more discreetly. In my car I'll hum to myself. The reason I do it is so, it's kind of like to try and keep myself grounded, because it's kind of, for me to speak, if I'm anxious, it's kind of like my brain disconnects from my mouth. And so one reason I do it is to kind of keep myself grounded to the present and try and be present, even though I'm kind of like the deer in the headlights freaking out. I say a lot too because of that, my brain going offline, because of the anxiety that I experience. Sorry, I just did that again. Plus it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a habit, but I do say more often when I'm anxious. I'm trying not to say it now, I'm aware of it. I've had, this is really hard, sorry. I've been diagnosed with a mood disorder called bipolar 1, which is the most severe highs, and it also has depression. So the mania phases is when I get very energetic, and my emotions become very intense during those times. It's quite frightening. Most of the time my emotions can be shut down, and that's been attributed to diagnosis of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So that the main traits, I've had that since I was a very young child, apparently. I had a trauma as a young child, and the main traits for me have been shutting down my emotions, shutting down when everything becomes, if I go into that fight or flight state, I usually just end up just shutting the whole thing down. and I can't hear anyone, I can't take anything in. It's like this big curtain going down. Now, I've done that as a coping mechanism for many years. When I've been manic and bipolar, I've been more tending to go into the fight or flight state, which is like a panic. And it's like, where is the threat? You're looking all around. It's quite horrible, and it actually feels like I'm just having a nervous breakdown. So that I get that if I'm crashing from a very high mood. I can feel very euphoric at those times. It's quite a bizarre feeling because I don't get that very often, but I feel like everything in the world is just so wonderful. The universe is all connected, and I'm very sensory seeking during those times, so I'll see little rainbows in the reflections, and I'm just like, staring at them, and I'm just kind of I can hum and feel vibrations in my fingers. It's kind of quite pleasurable for a while, and then when that mood all comes crashing down into depression, it is quite frightening. I start having delusions that something's out to get me, and it's partly related to my trauma that I've had. I've had more trauma as an adult since, and the flavour of the PTSD changed so that I had more flashbacks by triggers, and triggers can be just any old thing. The biggest trigger I've had is actually my previous name. I had a trauma connected to my childhood trauma, but again as an adult, and it took some time. PTSD takes some time to come out. Like, it doesn't it's not diagnosed PTSD if you have a reaction to it straight away. It can be months afterwards. And so anyway, the main traits of my PTSD is avoidance, so I'd avoid anything to do with it, even avoid thinking about it, so I'd keep myself as busy as possible. And then what happens with my avoidance is my anxiety goes up. So that can be avoiding my emotions. So one of the PTSD triggers, the biggest ones, was my former name. So also was manic. So I urgently, when I'm manic, it's like the emotions become so extreme, the fight or flight becomes extreme, everything becomes basically very intense and very extreme, and I can't like put a lid on it anymore, and so it all comes out and behave in ways that are quite different to usual. I've also been diagnosed, I don't know if I mentioned this, as social anxiety disorder, and they've attributed that along with PTSD for some of my traits, such as avoidance of eye contact, hardly speaking as a child. When I'm manic, I speak too much and I speak really fast, and my speech goes off in all different directions, and I'll mix words up and a sentence will become jumbled, because what's happening with mania is my mind will go very, very fast and my mouth just can't keep up.